Hello and welcome back to Dime to Diamonds podcast. I am Suzanne Porske with Phoenix Financial Group. We want to thank you for joining us today. I am joined in the studio with
Mark Farquhar with Phoenix Financial Group.
Rachelle Harp CPA.
Hey guys, good to be back in the seats in the saddle, right?
Yes, it's nice to see some pretty smiling faces.
Yes,
I'll use them if I need to for our other gender, but
yes. We'll give you some kudos that way. Can you believe we're in the second half of 2025?
No, this year has flown by.
Except for January. January was 6 months, but
It's coming. Be ugly.
Wait till we get to December. I mean, that's when it starts. I mean, it's going to be August.
I'm just going to go to Seaside. I'll just do remote from Seaside in January.
Said it now.
Then it can be a 60-day.
Yeah.
You know, we'll be at the beach. I'll be at the beach, and it won't matter. Yeah, here was pretty rough, and I even went to Seaside in January. Well, today we were talking on our last episode, part 1, about the 2025 changes to inherited IRAs, which is part of, I believe, the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yes. One piece.
Yes, one and many. And we're going to really dive into that in future episodes because I don't think anybody has done that, has really talked to people. We all know it's out there. We all know some of the benefits they've talked. But one of the things and how this impacted, and I wanted to talk about it. First of all, this is a blog that is on phx.financial. So if you want to read through the whole entire blog, it's going to give you a lot more insight than what we'll talk about in this quick 15-minute podcast today. But I wanted to talk as if we were talking to our clients and potential clients, why this matters. Because before we had the suggestion, and I thought it was law, that there was that 10-year. But now they're implementing it, correct?
Yes, they're going to enforce. Enforce is the difference now. And so they're going to make
Which means money.
Yeah, which means there's going to be penalties on the backside if you don't follow through.
Right. So if somebody inherits an IRA, which IRAs are like your 401ks, your SEPs, back in my day, the KIOs, any of that stuff that's never before been taxed.
Right.
So somebody has built that up, or they opened an IRA and they took the deduction off of their income tax returns. So it has never been before taxed. And I get some people that go, well, what's the big deal? There is a big deal where before you didn't have to acknowledge it or put it as part of your income. Now you absolutely have to. There are some new rules in place. So tell us about that.
Correct. So now they're going to enforce that 10-year time frame. So you have to withdraw that whole account within 10 years. So
Right.
it's a big deal. I mean, some of these individuals have 2 million, we're talking large amounts of money that you are going to inherit and you have to distribute to yourself in that certain time frame. The other caveat is RMDs, so required minimum distributions. And depending on the original owner's age, they may have already started taking their RMDs. And if that's the case, you will have to follow that.
Because the government is counting on it. The government knows that required minimum distribution has been put in place. So that has to stay that way.
Correct.
They're counting on you paying taxes on that RMD. So people go, what's the big deal? And so I'm like, not to interrupt you.
Nope, you're good. So
Our client will come in and we have strategically planned out their retirement and their tax implications and the tax strategy. And then they get an inherited IRA. We find out that it hasn't yet started RMD. So it gives us a little more wiggle room. But if it has already started RMDs, now they've got this new amount of money that has been put into play in their financial picture. So I think of people like Mark who have got kids that are college or going into college and they're trying to qualify for, maybe the kids are trying to qualify for some kind of financial aid. They have been strategically planning financially how to structure all that. And now this is thrown in. All of a sudden they just inherited a blessing, money, but it wasn't able to be mitigated in any way that they wanted. Because the truck has already left. The boat has left the harbor. Now he has to include that in his annual income.
correct.
And then some of our other clients that are in retirement, their Medicare is based on their income.
Yes.
The cost of their Medicare is based on their income. So they're used to having that, say, $300 come out of their paycheck on their Social Security check Now more is going to come out because now they're showing more income.
100% accurate.
Yes. So this blessing just came with some
Additional costs that people aren't foreseeing, and they're not planning to strategically reduce, because that's what you're always trying to do, is reduce or mitigate the amount of taxes that you are obligated to pay.
Right. So people will say, well, I inherited it, but I haven't yet accepted the money. And I try to remind them, the government knows, so you have 60 days. So if you want to wait 90 days, that's fine, but it's 60 days. And the government, they don't mess around. They don't play. There's penalties.
Tell when somebody doesn't take those RMDs that they're supposed to, what does it look like when they come in and go, hey, Rachelle, we got this notice or whatever. What does that tend to look like?
Yeah, so there's a 25% penalty on RMDs, which is substantial when you think about it. I mean, 25% of anything, 1/4 out of every dollar is going to go as a penalty. You're still going to have to pay additional tax on top of that, because that's income you should have recognized in a prior year that you didn't. So now there's penalties and interest, because the government would have got, I'm sure, 8% interest on their money while it sat somewhere. That could be debatable, but so you're going to have penalties, interest on top of the taxes that you should have paid, plus this additional 25% penalty. So we're talking, that's a large amount of money that you're handing over to the government that could have been kept in your pocket.
Right. I think what I love the most about what we do is educating our clients, because we'll have clients call that say, my grandmother or my mother passed away and I inherited this IRA. She was taking RMDs. Okay. So do you need that income? Is it going to throw a wrench in everything that you're already planning and working? We can sit down with them. But one of the things that we came across last year and started sharing is you can actually take those RMDs straight from the carrier and put them to a nonprofit, a 501c3, whether it's your church for tithing, it's a youth sports program, it's the museum in Broken Arrow that we love, or a senior center, or any of those shelters, any 501c3. You can take that inheritance that you now have received that could possibly throw a wrench in your financial situation. You can just take and say, okay, I want to take that and put it straight. And so there's no tax event that's been created.
Correct. So those are called qualified charitable distributions, QCD. Right. And if you ever look at a tax return who has RMDs, you'll see that there. And so what that does is that income goes straight to the organization. Therefore, on your tax return, it's not shown in the income bucket.
Right.
So you're not paying taxes on money that you are going to be giving to an organization anyways, and they're getting the full benefit. So it's a win-win for both the individual as well as the organization. And it's not a hard process.
Right.
You just communicate that to your financial institution where your RMDs are coming from, and you provide them with the EIN number, and that check goes straight to them.
Yep.
You're not involved at all. It's easy.
We have some people, like we have a client that has his daughter works at John 3:16, and they help out the homeless. And also they're very involved in their church. So it's looking at that tax return going, okay, so you have these donations. How about if we take this RMD that you're required to take every year, and let's move that up on the line. Let's have that go straight over to these things that are of most interest to you and your grandkids, maybe some sports programs they ask you to financially support. But it's getting super strategic with our money and how we can help mitigate those taxes. And I think that I'm glad that we have these and these conversations and we hold the workshops, because it has saved so many people thousands of dollars in their taxes. Wouldn't you agree?
I know we're sitting here telling beneficiaries kind of be on the lookout for, are you getting these inherited IRAs? But it's so important for people that have these IRAs to plan ahead for their beneficiaries as well. So I think it's important.
And we've had the people that have come in, they've like, I've got 3 or 4 million in IRA money. They don't want to convert it to a Roth. They don't want that tax situation. They don't want IRMA, which the IRMA is that excise tax that after it's Medicare, all Medicare related. So your Medicare cost goes up based on how much income. And so they're trying to mitigate all that. They don't want to take that huge chunk. We had that one client, they want to do $1 million into a backdoor Roth, but then that would have shown income. And then Medicare looks back for 2 years, 24 months. So 24 months of extra cost on the Medicare plans. So that's where it's having those courageous conversations. And if you're listening and you're somebody that has a large amount in your IRAs, never before tax money, it's not like it used to be. You can't just have your beneficiary as your kids or grandkids and think that that's not going to have some huge tax consequences. Not going to go down this rabbit hole, but putting your beneficiary as a trust helps so much. It gives you breathing room. Not just you, because you're not going to be breathing anymore. It's going to give those that are inheriting the money, it's going to give them breathing room to then try to get with a financial professional and then put this new piece into the puzzle.
Get some money. They have a trust. It's going to instruct them on how to, what to do with the money strategically. So it's advantageous for them.
Right.
For sure.
And again, not to go down any rabbit holes, and we don't practice law. There are ways, though, that we can encourage people to go see somebody to get an irrevocable trust to put those IRA money into, to really help mitigate taxes. And that's why it's so important. I feel that people, whether you think you have a lot or you don't have a lot, that doesn't matter to us. I know, because money is money, and there's ways to better, invest it, better ways to avoid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the whole idea of what clients are looking for is they want to take what they have and literally hand it to the next generation. And if you do tax planning, strategic planning, estate planning, all of that, what you are doing is you are trying to not create a burden for that generation,
Right.
which is the one that you're wanting to take care of. And
Right.
so by having those conversations, talking to the ones who have our IRAs, talking to your beneficiaries ahead of time gives them an opportunity
Right.
to plan. And so it's just having those conversations, because that's the whole idea. That's the whole purpose of what we do, is to try to take
Right.
your bucket and give a little bit out as possible and pass it to the next group. And that's
Right.
what we want.
Right. Absolutely. Again, just being tax strategists. I believe that us all working together collectively, we are able to give our value add to our clients so much more, because we've got all this up here. So when somebody comes in, I was telling that the other day, it's like Jenga in my head. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm just, the more they tell me and the more I can look at their tax returns, and I'm like, okay, this is what's ahead. You don't realize you've got this coming up. And then what about if you inherit this amount of money, especially as we're having those conversations with them about estate planning of where they're at now. And then they'll say, you need to talk to my mom or dad or whatever. I'm like, oh, are you their beneficiary? Because we're going to have to put that in the back of our heads. So again, we just encourage you to get on the phx.financial and look at the blog. There is a lot of great information that we haven't really touched on that I think you guys would find very, very good. Talking also about just whether you're a qualified designated beneficiary or non-qualified, because it's different.
It is.
There's different rules, and go ahead.
Yeah, so your eligible designated beneficiaries are going to be spouses. It's going to be the minor children and any disabled children, or chronically ill individuals.
And when we talk about eligible to stretch it.
Stretch it, yeah. So that would mean instead of having that 10-year life, they're able to stretch it according to their life. So it's not just stretch it indefinitely, but you have more opportunity.
Right.
If you are not in those three buckets, you have that 10-year time frame, and that's a very short time frame.
So if a spouse inherits an IRA and they're 50 years old and then there was no RMDs taken, then that inherited IRA is not taxed. It is now just theirs as part of their estate. So when they reach 73, all of those monies have the RMD applied.
Correct.
If someone is 65, their spouse passed away and had the RMD in place,
they're going to have to follow the RMDs.
They're going to have to still, yes.
Because it was already in place.
Right. If it's a non-spouse, and it was a child, but they're not disabled. They're a grown adult, and they received it.
10-year time frame.
Starts ticking right away.
Right.
They have to get that
continue.
totally depleted in 10 years.
Correct.
And that's where being strategic with it again is so important, to look not just right now and how it's going to happen and your tax consequences, but 5 years from now, because some people are like, I'll worry about it later. All of us know.
It's so important. I mean, there's so much stuff we're throwing at them today. It's just important to gather all your information up and just go talk to your financial professional, or bring it to us, and then we can just set a plan in place.
Right.
For, the crisis.
And let us ask all the questions. And if you don't have the answers, that's okay. It's not a one and done.
Right.
It's a continuous conversation. We'll ask you questions, and then you can go, didn't know that, or don't know that answer.
Peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Thing in a row and ready to go. So.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for this part 2 of the what you need to know about the 2025 changes to inherited IRAs. It's super good information, and thank you for listening. You have been listening to Dime to Diamonds. I am Suzanne Porske with Phoenix Financial Group.
I'm Mark Farquhar with Phoenix Financial Group.
Rachelle Harp with Rachelle Harp CPA.
Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.